Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is a Clementine podcast. I am Tyler Clemens, and I think I'm bringing you the best audio that I've brought you in probably all of my videos I've uploaded so far. It's been a work in progress. Most people think you can probably just sit down, plug in, record, and just get things rolling. It honestly doesn't just work like that. There's always a little few bumps in the road here and there. Like I had audio issues with just the microphone in the computer settings. I plugged into different computers, got excellent results. I plug in this brand new laptop. I digress. I get worse. Don't get any better. Audio, can't even hear it. First couple I did on a 10-year-old MacBook Pro. You can at least hear it, but the echoing was insane. Could not figure that out, and we think the sound card was dying. Used my wife's work laptop. Excellent. Plug it right in, start recording. Not a single issue. And had all the issues I could possibly do. I had to turn off some weird settings. So I hope this audio is much better. I hope you're able to listen to it and actually not turn it off because you can't hear me. Or you're just tired of hearing my voice. One of the two. But life's about choices, so you can choose to listen or not. Week 4, picks against the spread. I went 12-4 last week. My best week with the picks against the spread. And as we're picking teams against the spread, this is not a winner or loser. This is a team covering the spread. But clearly, if you have a team that is a huge favorite, then they're expected to cover that spread and win the game. And this week we have a game that I hadn't actually filled in the box here because it's such a crazy spread. And I actually had a spread that was predicted or printed out wrong on this PDF. So if you got the same picks against the spread that I have here, you're probably going to see that this Dallas Cowboy Green Bay Packers game is not the right spread. They're actually polar opposite. Needless to say, first game of week 4 is the Seattle Seahawks taking on the Arizona Cardinals. And the Cardinals are not a good team. And they have them as a 1.5 point favorite. The reason why they're that 1.5 point favorite is because they're at home. Home teams do get the advantage in betting terminology. Even if you're a bad team, you're going to have a chance to be picked as a favorite in this. And they're going to give you a few points. Sorry, if you see me looking this way, currently, it's real time 12:26, and it's Sunday, and the Steelers and the Vikings are playing in Dublin, Ireland, and the Steelers have pretty much dominated this game from start to finish, just getting after Carson Wentz. But the Vikings just hit a huge play to Jordan Addison, and now they are at the 2-yard line trying to score. But this Steelers defense is just locking them down. But it's not over. There's 2:13 in the fourth. They can kick a field goal, make it 24-17. And they're probably not going to, though, because they've only got one timeout in the 2-minute warning. So that is not a lot of time to work. And as I'm talking, I am going to switch the microphone because I just saw that it was not on the setting I typically have it on. So now hopefully this is way better. Sounds better in my ears already. But going ahead and picking the spread for the Seattle at Arizona game, I went with plus 1.5 with the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks have really started to dial up their offense. Their defense is going to be good. Sam Darnold has just proven that he needed to be on a better team, better coaching staff, better players, and he has really started to figure things out there. Cooper Kupp, Njigba, Torrey Horton, those are your 3 receivers for the Seattle Seahawks, and Cooper Kupp actually doesn't get as much playing time as I anticipated that he would have. But the Cardinals are just a team that are just on that fringe of you could be good, but you don't play well enough when you need to stay in games. This game's already happened. It's a Sunday, like I just spoke, and the Vikings did score. It's 21-24 now, and if you're curious, I did pick Pittsburgh 1.5 on that. So we'll get the outcome here rather soon. But I just don't see Arizona being much of a playoff team this year. The same issue arises every single week, and you're going to hear me talk about this every single week. Kyler Murray is 5'10", and he cannot see over the middle of the field. And it is proven in this game because All of his successful passes were to the left or to the right. Anytime he did throw over the middle, that was because he ran to the outside and could see the middle of the field now. Or the pocket opened right up for him to do that. And that's designed. That is not a, hey, the guys just went this way, so we blocked them that way. No, there's a design to the blocking scheme to coach your guys up to, hey, let's try to form this pocket around him to give him that view down the field. And Marvin Harrison Jr. is just, he's in a mental battle with himself, and he snapped out of it, we think, in this game there. Had a big touchdown. Moss, the defender, was on ESPN Countdown, or Sunday Countdown, leading into this 1 o'clock slate of games. So as I'm doing this podcast, we are going to start the 1 o'clock games here. So hopefully I'll try to finish up by then, or I'll have all those picks in. But Arizona is just nothing about them really makes me think that they're going to be a great team. And then James Conner going down. He's going to be out for this season. You don't really know who the true back is back there. I mean, we got Trey Benson. There's another tailback. Can't think of his name off the top of my head. But I'm just seeing Seattle taking this one. And they did. Arizona got down early in this game. Seattle could not find a way to continue to score points. I think when you get up in games like that, you start to be a little conservative. And when you're conservative, NFL teams are not conservative when they're down. No matter what the score is, they're always trying to move the ball downfield and to score points, no matter what's happening. And I think Arizona, they get a lot of garbage time stats, unfortunately. If it's late in the game, you're going to play prevent defense. You're not going to give up points, but you're going to give up yards down the field. And Seattle started to do that, but Arizona came back, tied this one up, and Seattle just, like they needed to, move the ball right down the field and kick the field goal. Arizona had so much momentum at the end of this game that you would have thought Seattle's going to blow this. Seattle is going to blow this game. And they just did enough to win. And that's why these spreads are like that. Arizona's at home. They played like dog crap the entire game. And when it mattered most, in the end, they kept this thing close. And looks like the Steelers are probably going to walk away with a victory here. Vikings tried the onside kick, and they do not get it. It's 2:07 in the fourth. So I can already say that started the week 1-0, and I think I'm going to start this 2-0 with the Minnesota-Pittsburgh. So Minnesota and Pittsburgh Steelers traveled over to Dublin, Ireland, and we're going to have another game next week, I believe, that's also going to be at 9:30. Could be completely wrong, or one of these teams are going to be there for 2 weeks. Usually they do some crazy scheduling, especially in London. I know the Jaguars played back-to-back weeks in London, and they pretty much just stayed there the whole time. So there was no adjustments needed. You got there, figured out the plan, brought your family, whatever it was, and then you get back to a normal schedule. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be jet lag, the amount of time that you're traveling, and just the whole time concept, I'm sure has just got everybody screwed over when they get over there. But both these teams in this Pittsburgh-Minnesota game, they look really good. I mean, I didn't see anyone that was playing poorly to blame the travel for why they're playing like this. But Pittsburgh's defense just got after the Minnesota Vikings offense. I mean, all day just sending the blitz. They couldn't pick it up. Carson Wentz made some good throws. He's a big guy. I don't think most people realize how big of a quarterback Carson Wentz is. He's 6'5", 230. That is a enormous quarterback. Most of your guys are in the 6'1", 6'2 range, 6'3". And you do have a few guys that are in the 5'10". You got three guys, Kyler Murray, Bryce Young, Russell Wilson. Those are your three under 6-foot quarterbacks in the league. And they're all struggling. They're all struggling. Bryce Young and Kyler Murray are first-round picks. You cannot give up on them. You can, but you can't. The coaching staff in Carolina has allowed Bryce Young to look better, as in drawing plays up to where he can see, maybe throwing the spots in the field, instead of actually having to read the coverage and know, I've got to drop this ball right in here, right now. You know, you can kind of anticipate these throws. And I think Carolina's done a little bit better job of that. They really skunked the Falcons last week. I have no idea what happened. And the Falcons go from dominating the Minnesota Vikings to just shit in the bed. 0 points. What I can't get my head wrapped around is that you cut your kicker, Younghoe Koo, and you sign this other guy who misses 2 kicks. You could have had 6 points, and you don't because you cut your kicker. Needless to say, Michael Penix has got to play better. I think he's going to have these up and down games. I think teams are going to take away things he's good at. I think he's just going to be your typical young quarterback. He didn't play a full season last year, so until he plays 16, 17 games, I'm still looking at him as a quarterback that's a rookie. A rookie. Until you have a full year under your belt, teams are going to take away what they've saw that you're successful at. And that means there's a lot of improvement that you have to work on. 1.5 favorites, they are going to probably cash this game out right now. They've got a 2nd and 6. They actually just handed the ball off to Gainwell, and Rodgers just threw an insane block. And Gainwell just did all the work here to get to about a 3rd and 1. And I believe the Vikings will burn that last time out, and I think they just did. So 152 in the 4th, and Steelers have the 3rd and 1. And they're already across midfield, so if they don't get this, I'd imagine they probably try kicking a field goal to extend that to a 27-21 game. Going ahead and move on to the Washington at Atlanta. This is a tricky game here. Washington's -2.5. I did pick Washington -2.5 in this, only because the Atlanta Falcons last week playing that poorly. Commanders have a really good defense, and I think Dan Quinn's going to try to get after Michael Penix. I think he's going to force Michael Penix into making throws that are going to be heavily congested. He has a strong arm, so you best believe that defensive coordinators typically look at quarterback strengths and weaknesses, and they want to try to make them lean towards doing this or that. I think the Commanders are going to do that. Even though Jaden Daniels isn't playing, Marcus Mariota played a phenomenal game last week. Not numbers that are going to wow you and say, hey, we got to get this guy a starting job again. But he did enough to win the game. He held on to the football. He did fumble once in one of his runs. But you got vintage Marcus Mariota out there. You got him doing things that he's comfortable with. And as a backup quarterback, you're okay with calling games like this for Marcus Mariota. I mean, that's what he does. He's a runner. He does throw the ball well, but he's not a guy that sits back and just picks your team apart. He is really a mix the run game in, get him in the flow of the game, and then these read options are just going to be magical for him because now teams are worried about his run threat and his pass threat. And that's where you get the dual threat quarterback to be really effective. Just watching his play here on 3rd down and 1. The Vikings just stuffed the Steelers. So Steelers going to have a decision to make here whether they are going to go for it on 4th down or are they going to kick a field goal. They're going to wind this clock down to probably about a minute 11, minute 12. Actually, a little bit lower than that. They're going to be down under like a minute 8, minute 9. If they don't have a timeout, so I think Steelers are going to probably take the 5. Oh, wow. Steelers get to the line real quick. They're just going to hard count. Take the 5 yards. That's exactly what happened. So I'm watching this live right now, and if you're watching the game or watch the game when you see this, it doesn't make sense to me to watch somebody come to the line with 6 seconds left and you have no timeout, and then all of a sudden you just rush to the line on 4th and 1 in a critical situation. You're not running the ball. You're not even going to snap the ball. So why are you wasting your time and energy to do that? Sometimes I believe that gets the players frustrated. Like, why did we go out here and do this? Like, they knew we weren't going to snap it. And we just take the 5, and then we'll send the punt team out there. Makes no sense. So I'll let you know by the end of this what the spread was, but we'll go ahead and move on from the Atlanta-Washington game. I think Washington is going to give Atlanta a close battle. Atlanta could completely turn this game around, though. They could just flip Washington on their heads and play their best game of the season, especially after getting shut out last week. I'm going Washington -2.5, traveling to Atlanta. Next, we have the New Orleans Saints at the Buffalo Bills. So this is one I actually had not picked yet because there is such a freaking ridiculous spread. And you can look anywhere. You can find different spreads on different places. Like ESPN right now has this as a 15.5. What I printed out, I don't know where they get it at, but they must have just one place that they pick from and print these out. I use these from somebody else's work that they've already done because really you're just putting things on a paper, and I think the Steelers just closed this game out. 1st and 10, Wentz throws this ball, and it is intercepted. I'm going to confirm it, though, because he needs to have possession. The New Orleans Saints traveling to the Buffalo Bills. I don't know if the Bills are going to cover this 16.5-point spread, unfortunately. And right here, Johnny on the spot, I am going to go ahead and I'm just going to go New Orleans plus 16.5 right now. That's just there's so many points there to try to cover. I don't know how we even get to the point of Vegas or the odds bettors, how they decide that they're going to get to 16.5. The New Orleans Saints are just, they're going to be a poor team this year. They're going to ride probably Spencer Rattler till he really starts costing them games. And then you're probably going to see Tyler Shuck. But that's just a weird quarterback situation that the New Orleans Saints have not figured out. Don't know when they're going to figure it out. All I know is that Alvin Kamara just needs to continue to keep touching the rock. He's probably going to be a possible trade candidate at the deadline. I just don't know what you're going to get for him. He's 30 years old, 31 years old. He doesn't take a lot of handoffs. He gets a lot more passes out of the backfield than anything. So he's not getting ran into the ground like most backs are, where they're 20 carries a game, 5 to 8 catches. He's getting that 10 to 15 touch mark in the backfield, and then he's catching anywhere between 4 to 7 passes a game. He's utilized very well. And Buffalo, even though they don't have a receiver over there that's going to wow you, like somebody that you have to keep an eye on, Josh Allen makes these guys better. I think the Bills are going to win this game. I just don't know about this spread. 16.5. And update, interception did not stand there, could not get his feet down inbound. So now the Vikings have it again on 2nd and 10, and Wentz almost threw another pick. Wow, great coverage. Great coverage by the Steelers. They really tightened up their secondary. And then just got the Steelers for holding, so that's going to give the Vikings a first down. Wow. Steelers dominating this whole game, and the Vikings really marching their way back into this. It's 24-21, so they can really tie this thing up, possibly. Buffalo, I think, is going to probably just run right down New Orleans' throat with the ball. I think it's going to be, quintessentially, it's going to be a blowout, but I don't think it's going to be 16.5. I think you're probably looking at like a 24-3, maybe 28-13. I just don't see a 16.5. I mean, essentially, that needs to be, it's going to be like a 28-10 game, possibly, for this point. It could be I don't see New Orleans getting beat by 17, though. New Orleans is played better at times. I think as the competition is supposed to be overwhelming, I think they've done a better job at executing plays, getting a better game plan. But after the game plan, there's now just about making adjustments and executing plays. I went to New Orleans plus 16.5 on this. We'll see if that bites me in the ass later. Moving on, Cleveland at Detroit. Detroit has found their rhythm. Weren't sure about the first game. Thought the Packers wrecking them was the demise of the Detroit Lions. Losing Ben Johnson, losing Aaron Glenn. They thought that we're going back to the same old Lions. And they did not. They've really improved. They've been a better team. Still have aggressive play calls. They go for it on 4th down. And you saw it. Lions, Ravens last week. What a game. Lions defense got after Lamar Jackson. Sacked him 7 times. That was because the coverage was so good downfield. Lamar probably doesn't want to be that running quarterback that he is known to be. As Carson Wentz probably about to get an intentional grounding here. He just got slammed to the ground, which really affected the way this ball was thrown. So we'll see how this turns out. It's muted over here, so I'm just having to watch it out the corner of my eye. Detroit Lions, though, taking on Cleveland. Cleveland shocked the Green Bay Packers last week. What the hell happened with Green Bay? Bettors got to the point where they were contacting the NFL about, hey, I think this guy's throwing the game possibly. He just took this ridiculous sack against Cleveland that just didn't make any sense. It just did not. I don't expect the Detroit Lions to have too much of a problem. I picked them minus 8.5. I just think they're going to be aggressive. They're going to really get after this Cleveland Browns team. I want to see if Flacco is going to start forcing passes, or what exactly Cleveland's going to have in store for Detroit. But I'm going minus 8.5 for Detroit. Cleveland really doesn't have an identity yet. They played that really good defensive game against Green Bay, but their offense is not there. And scoring 10 points, 13 points a game, you're not going to win very many. You need to be 20 plus a game if you really want to have a chance to win. Because defense can have a good game, defense can have a bad game, and sometimes your offense is going to have to cover some of those holes. And I don't think that this Cleveland team is designed for that right now. You could see Joe Flacco pulled at any point in time. Any point in time, Dylan Gabriel is going to come in this game. And this could be the game. I think if they get blowed out, they're down big and it's late, you're going to see Dylan Gabriel. Needless to say, Lions minus 8.5. And Shane, that's for you, big dog. Next, we've got the Tennessee Titans traveling to the Houston Texans. And my gosh, what is up with C.J. Stroud? I didn't believe in C.J. Stroud when he came into the league. And then he had a rookie year, and he was that close to changing my mind. And then year 2 came around, and he regressed. He got worse, as in teams have really figured out a way to fluster C.J. Stroud. And C.J. Stroud has not been able to overcome it. And they are a 7.5-point favorite with the Tennessee Titans coming into town. And this is just my opinion. I think Cam Ward is a better quarterback than C.J. Stroud. And yes, Cam Ward's a rookie in the NFL, and C.J. Stroud's in his 3rd year. But you look at what Cam Ward is doing and what C.J. Stroud is doing and what he has done, Cam Ward is on the uptick. He's going to be that guy that is going to turn around this Tennessee franchise. He's going to be a guy that people want to come play with. Tennessee is going to cover this plus 7.5 spread. Houston, I mean, they're in their home stadium. They're going to have a little bit of an advantage, and I think that's why you have this minus 7.5 here, because that is not a realistic spread to me. I think if this was at Tennessee and Houston was traveling there, you're probably going to have more of a 3.5-point favorite for Houston, or a 3-point favorite for Houston. Because Tennessee is a bad team. They had the number 1 pick last year for a reason, and you don't turn these things around quickly. It's going to take time. It's going to take draft picks. Tennessee, I think, is going to cover that spread. Houston has a good defense, but their offense is just so suspect. I don't know. Nico Collins is the only guy that's a threat. Is the only person on that team that is legitimately a threat. And so far, I am 2-0 on my picks. Seattle covered the plus 1.5, and Pittsburgh covered the plus 1.5. They won 24-21. So, hey, starting off week 4 right. Going to go ahead and move right on down to the Carolina Panthers and the New England Patriots. Carolina is a plus 4.5 underdog. I am taking them on this because the New England Patriots turned the ball over 5 times last week against the Steelers. And I think that New England is a team that's going to be on the rise. They're still not going to be a great team. They're probably going to be a 500 team. But they have a great prospect at quarterback in Drake May. Drake May is everything that you want in a quarterback. He's got the size, he's got the mobility, and he has the arm strength. What we haven't saw from him is some moxie, as in we need to see this man take control of the game. We want to see him get back there, feel confident, knowing that, hey, this is 3rd and 4. We've got a great play call, and just making the right reads there. I think eventually he's going to get there with Josh McDaniels. It's going to take some time. Josh McDaniels is a great offensive coordinator. Don't get me wrong. Not a good head coach, but he's a great offensive coordinator. When he was in Denver for his first head coaching run 20 years ago, Brandon Marshall was there. Kyle Orton was there. Brandon Marshall tells some stories about how Josh McDaniel, in practice, worked on certain things. If I call this play, you get this look. Don't run that play. Run this. Run this. One time, Brandon Marshall did not do that when he got this look, and McDaniel pulled him over. Back then, I believe it was frame by frame, as in printed out sheets of paper. Or they went back and watched the film the following days. if Brandon Marshall would have done what Josh McDaniel told him to do, as in run the go route or whatever, he would have blown this coverage open and would have just had a walk-in touchdown. It would have been a massive play. So McDaniels draws up plays to get guys open. You watched it for years when Tom Brady was there. How many balls did Wes Welker catch that were 6 yards? 6 yards, and then the man ran 10 or 15 after that. I mean, he did it 100+ times for 3 or 4 seasons. But Carolina is better than people give him credit for and that I give him credit for. I just don't think that Bryce Young at his height, I gotta sneeze, guys. All right, we're back. I don't think that Bryce Young can see. I think he has a problem, and if New England Patriots start to send the blitz up the middle and not on the edges, I think they're going to fluster Bryce Young. You're probably going to start seeing a lot of quick passes to the left and right, probably some screen games, especially if New England's going to try to get after him, because that's what Vrabel does. Vrabel is a guy that is out of the Belichick coaching tree. He's a schemer. He does things to make guys uncomfortable. He's not afraid to do that and take chances. So Carolina, New England, I think that's going to be a very close game. I don't think that New England is going to cover their -4.5, so I'm going Carolina +4.5, and still expecting probably New England to win this game somehow. Got 2 more games on the 1 o'clock slate. Right now we have the Los Angeles Chargers traveling to New York, taking on the Giants. Couple things to talk about in this one. LA Chargers, Justin Herbert looks like the guy they drafted 6 years ago. This is the guy playing to his potential. Making tough throws in the pocket when it's needed and not really forcing things. Not just making garbage plays. And when I mean that, I mean forcing things, getting rushed, holding on to the ball too long, trying to throw a piss missile into a 2-inch window. No need for that. And I think Harbaugh has really reined in Justin Herbert and has tried to make him the most efficient quarterback that he can be. Anybody that Harbaugh has coached has become a really efficient quarterback. Colin Kaepernick, Alex Smith, these guys have been under Harbaugh, and Harbaugh has taken them to the next level. And you're seeing that now with Herbert. Herbert has some receivers now, which he did not have before. He had McConkey last year. Now he's got Keenan Allen. He's got Quentin Johnston. And Quentin Johnston was on the verge of being one of the biggest draft pick bust in a few years at receiver. He was a first-round draft pick, I believe, or second-round draft pick. And he just could not hang on to the dang ball. Would be wide open downfield drop. This year, totally different. This man is the deep ball threat for the Los Angeles Chargers, and he likes to go to him. But Keenan Allen being there for this Chargers offense, this man is a safety blanket for Herbert, and he loves to go to him. Even though Allen's 32, 33 years old, he's never been a fast guy, so he hasn't lost much because he still has the quick feet. He gets open. He runs phenomenal routes. I think Keenan Allen's one of the top route runners in this league. Not a top receiver, but he's a top route runner. And the Giants are about to put your quarterback in the frying pan today. You really are. You're about to put Jackson Dart with some live bullets coming at him. And Jackson Dart, he's a gamer. Jackson Dart is going to play his ass off in this game. I think Daboll is going to call the game differently. I think Daboll is going to try to get Dart comfortable. And once Dart gets comfortable, I expect Jackson Dart to start ripping some throws today. I don't think the Giants are going to win. I actually didn't even pick them. They're +5.5. I went Los Angeles Chargers. They're -5.5. But I think Jackson Dart is going to show people today why he was drafted in the first round. Jackson Dart is going to be a good quarterback, I think, in this league. Not many guys come from Ole Miss and are successful. But Jackson Dart, watching the Gruden QB camp this year, it's on YouTube, which is where this video will be. Jackson Dart has the mental capacity that most people don't expect. And you can be honest. Who looks at Jackson Dart and says, that guy's an elite quarterback. No, they look at Jackson Dart. They probably see the hair. They probably see the one-eyed war paint that he has on one eye. And they see he looks like a pretty boy out there. The dude's a gamer. He really is. Watched him at Ole Miss all 3 years that he started there. The guy's a stud. Lane Kiffin was on ESPN today talking about Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart's probably going to have a little bit of nerves coming into this game. He's going to have some nerves on his first couple drives. But Dayball's going to have to get him reeled in. Going to need him to say, hey, we know you can throw the ball, man. Calm down. Make your reads. Get him a ball that he can catch. That's going to be the most important thing. Chargers minus 5.5. That's my pick. Battle of the Unbeatens. It's the last 1 o'clock slate of the day. Philadelphia traveling over to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I went Tampa Bay plus 2.5 because Baker Mayfield is that dude. The Eagles are also that team. Buccaneers are at home. Mike Evans is out. Philadelphia finally got their 2 receivers on track last week, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Tampa Bay not having Evans may be a factor, but you're going to get Chris Godwin back today, I do believe. You got Sterling Shepard, and you got Egbuka, who is going to be that number 1 target for the Tampa Bay Bucs, especially with Evans out. I like to see Otten probably get a little bit more involved in this game. They're going to need him. And Bucky Irving against this Philadelphia D-line, I don't know how successful he's going to be running the ball. So this Buccaneers passing offense is going to have to be elite today, and I think Baker Mayfield's ready for that. He has a biceps injury that people are talking about, so hour and a half before the game, he wasn't even throwing the ball yet, just sitting down there on the sidelines, listening to some music, probably watching some film. But Philadelphia, after last week, holy cow, the 2 block kicks back-to-back, they cover the spread against the Rams. Rams had that game in the bag all day long. And last week, you heard me talk about it, in the bag, almost zipped up, but you didn't zip it up all the way, so they took it back out of the bag for you because you didn't deserve it. Defending champs came back and beat the Rams, and I like the Bucs today, man. It's a Florida team because I'm in Florida, but I also like Baker Mayfield, and I like this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team to give the Eagles their first loss of the day. So in this case, I am picking the plus 2.5 Bucs, but I am picking the Bucs to win this game though too in my head. Going on to the Indianapolis Colts at the Los Angeles Rams. So just something most people don't even think about this. It's kind of cool, really kind of irrelevant, but there's a few teams in the league that share stadiums. Jets and Giants share it. Rams, Chargers share it. So anytime one team's at home, the other's away, unless there's a Thursday night and then a Sunday or Monday game, then you could probably fit those in. But anytime Chargers are at home or away, Rams will be at home, and then vice versa. And then they might even play each other at the same stadium one time. It's nuts. How do they manage to do that? Like the whole changeover. The colors are really close for the Rams, but Giants and Jets, I mean, you have to do a whole stadium makeover for the most part. So I think that's pretty cool as 2 teams play in the same stadium and just how they flip things around for the other team to come in and feel like they're at home. But the Indianapolis Colts traveling to the LA Rams. I went Colts plus 4.5. I think that they have the potential to win. They're a really good team defensively. The Rams also a really good team. I think the Colts are finally getting some respect this year, and that is why I don't agree with that. I think if the Colts had some more respect here, you probably just make the Rams a 2.5 or 1.5 point favorite. Just because they're at home, though. They get them at 4.5 point favorite. So that was essentially why I went with the Colts going plus 4.5. So that means they can't lose by any more than 4, or they can win. And then I would be right on that. But the Rams with Matthew Stafford, Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, Sean McVay, and that young defense, Rams are always going to have a chance at this, but Colts have just proven themselves, and I think even in this game right here, the Colts get a little bit overlooked because they're playing LA, and they think that they're going to have to lose one eventually. This was probably one of the harder picks besides that minus 16.5 up there. But I think the Colts cover the 4.5 point spread. and Rams are going to be in a dogfight. That's your 4:05 game. Your next 4:05 game has the Jacksonville Jaguars going on over to San Francisco, and the Jaguars' offense has looked much better. The only question mark for the Jaguars football team that I haven't figured out yet is Brian Thomas. He's dropping these passes. Like, you get all these great LSU receivers that come into the league. You get Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, Brian Neighbors. You get all these elite receivers that come from LSU, and they go through these phases to where they don't live up to their potential for some reason. Like, I expect Brian Thomas in this game to get targeted at least 10 times. He's had a bunch of targets and he's not had many catches, but I think they're going to force feed Brian Thomas in this game, and they're just going to have to get him involved. Brock Purdy's going to be back for the San Francisco 49ers. Christian McCaffrey's been healthy this year. I think that's the difference in this team for the San Francisco 49ers. Brock Purdy runs that offense to a T, and he doesn't care who he's throwing the ball to. He's throwing to whoever's open at all times. And Kyle Shanahan just finds a way to dial plays up that this San Francisco team just make look so easy. They are out George Kittle, but I don't expect that to be a decision maker on who's going to win this game at all. I do believe the San Francisco 49ers at home. They're also down Nick Bosa. Ooh. I probably should have rethought this pick, but I'm going to just stick with this one here. San Francisco at home. I think they're going to find a way defensively. Robert Saleh is a really good defensive coordinator, and I think he's going to get the pass rush there to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Really try to fluster our guy Trevor Lawrence here, as he's had a better year so far, but San Francisco, let's see if you can get after him, make him continue to prove himself. I went San Francisco minus 3.5 on that spread. Now we move on to the 425 slate of games here. We have two of those. You got the Baltimore Ravens at Kansas City. I'm a Mahomes guy. So, of course, I'm going to go plus 2.5 on this here because Baltimore has just really shit the bed lately. Derrick Henry has fumbled in every game. Not something he normally does, but it's costing them games. Lamar Jackson wants to be the drop-back passer that people said he wasn't, and he's taking sacks. Kansas City hasn't really found that pass rush yet, but I expect Chris Jones, he's actually going to a funeral today. He's going to fly back in time for this game. So he's going to have heavy hearts, and a heavy heart, not hearts because he only has one. But I expect Chris Jones to come back and be mentally locked in. He's probably not playing this game for himself either. Kansas City Chiefs plus 2.5. Baltimore Ravens have got to figure out this turnover issue here. And once they do that, they'll get back on track. But Kansas City, Andy Reid, 3-time champions, almost 3-peat champs last year. I think they find a way to get back on track and get back 2-2 on the season. I went Kansas City plus 2.5. Last 425 game, you got the Chicago Bears traveling over to the Las Vegas Raiders. I went Chicago plus 1.5 because after that game against the Cowboys last week, that Bears team made me a little bit of a believer in the play calling that Ben Johnson is going to dial up for Caleb Williams. I think he does a really good job of calling plays to set them up for later in the game. And that's a big thing. A lot of teams don't do that. They just call plays for the here and now. And that is not how you do it. There's times, for example, that the Los Angeles Rams, they run plays with intention on every single play. And I mean not the intention of executing the play, getting 5 or 6 yards, or doing your job. No. I mean, they run plays with the intention of, I make this play look like we're going to run this route. And then the next time, I line up the same way, and we go this way with the ball. Then we line up the same way again with the personnel flip to that side, but it looks the same, and then we call something different. And then the next time we come out, we flip the formula. We put the guys on this side of the formation, and then we run to that side. So there's play calls by the Rams, if you ever watch their games, that they call some of the same plays, left, right. Same play, different formation, same play. Holy cow. I am watching the Eagles, Bucks over here in the corner, and they just blocked a punt. Special teams has been insane for the Eagles. Maybe one day I'm going to just do some live collab of watching these football games and just talking about what they got going on here. But wow, just complete special teams dominance there by the Eagles. Bucks went 3 and out, and nobody blocked this guy, and he just came straight through the middle. Got to do a better job than that, Tampa Bay. But Chicago does a really good job calling plays up. Ben Johnson's going to continue to do that. Las Vegas, Pete Carroll's got a lot of work to do. They got a lot of guys there that they need to try to change the culture. I think it's going to take some time. Max Crosby's there. He's a game wrecker on defense, but you only can do so much on one side of the ball. The offense is getting better. Geno Smith has made the offense look a little more explosive, but now the defense is lacking a little bit, and Vegas sometimes forces the ball. Geno Smith is going to do that. Geno Smith is a gunslinger, and when they're down, he's going to take chances. I think Las Vegas, if they can stay in games, or they can get ahead in games, that they play better. Who doesn't play better, though, when they're winning? But I think Chicago, I went plus 1.5 with Chicago. I think they're going to cover that spread. Could also beat Vegas. Could also beat them. But I think Chicago's probably going to take that game. And next we move on to the Green Bay at Dallas. So you look right now in the ESPN app. It is minus 6.5 for Green Bay. Well, I printed this thing out. It actually had minus 5.5, but it was on Dallas. So I marked it out, and I wrote plus and minus on the right areas here. So I'm going to take Dallas plus 5.5, not only because it's my wife's team, but also because, do you think that the Packers are just going to come out and punch the Cowboys in the mouth and they aren't going to respond? No. I think Jerry Jones has told their guys that Micah Parsons was here and he didn't help us very much. Let's show him why we don't need him. So I expect that the Dallas Cowboys are going to come out with a game plan that's going to be super aggressive. I think their defense is going to try to get after Jordan Love. I think they're going to have to, because last week against Cleveland, Jordan Love looked like the up and down Jordan Love everybody was worried about. It's a fine line between being a great quarterback and being elite. And I think Jordan Love is a great quarterback, but I don't think he's elite. Because when you play like that against Cleveland, people are really going to start to doubt you. The only downside to where Jordan Love is going to probably be really good at is that if Dallas doesn't get a pass rush, he's going to have time to sit back there and throw this ball around. And he's a good runner, so he can run the ball. I just believe Dallas is going to be a little bit more motivated here. They want to get back at Micah Parsons, and they're going to chip, they're going to double team, they're going to do different things to Micah Parsons to keep him out of this game. I expect the Cowboys to cover this plus 5.5 point spread here. So that's who I'm going with. Let's go ahead and move on to the Monday night slate. And if you don't already know, I'm a Miami Dolphins fan. They're going to wear these so dark blue jerseys that they look black, but they're not. And they're my team, and they're playing the New York Jets at home. So I'm going to take Miami minus 2.5 here. Jets come in at plus 2.5. Justin Fields comes off the concussion. He's going to be back. And I listen to a lot of Miami Dolphins sports talk radio, typically WQAM, with Joe Rose in the morning, Hawk and Crowder in the afternoons. I'm with Channing Crowder on this. I think that I would want Tyrod Taylor to play. Why do we want Tyrod Taylor to play? Because Tyrod's not going to physically wear you down with his running ability. Not like Justin Fields can do. Justin Fields did this 2 years ago with the Bears against the Dolphins. He ran for over 100 yards against our defense. But he's not a great thrower of the ball. But a quarterback that can run is going to allow receivers to get open, because you don't get a pass rush. You get this guy outside the pocket. Your DBs are going to pull off, and they're going to try to come up and tackle Justin Fields. So if Justin Fields is in the game, they're going to try to make him a runner with the ball. So the Dolphins defense is going to have to load that box up. They're going to have to try to stop Justin Fields. And your DBs are probably going to be out there on an island. They really are. And so far, our DB play's not been the best. Not been the best. Being a homer here, of course, I got to go minus 2.5 Dolphins. That's Aaron Glenn. almost had a win last week against the Bucs. You saw Aaron Glenn doing his little dance all the way down the sideline. Buccaneers did what they did and moved right down the field, kicked that field goal, took another L for the Jets. I'm just sitting here watching this Bucs-Eagles game, and this Eagles secondary is locked down the Buccaneers receivers right now. Egbuka's been targeted a few times. He got targeted again right here. He did catch it, but nowhere to go. 4th and 2. Bucs have to punt. Let's see if the Eagles are going to get after him again. It is 11:35 to go in the first. All right. So, of course, the Eagles don't have an insane rush this time. Bucs able to punt the ball away, and they call a fair catch. So, Jets, Miami. I'm taking Miami minus 2.5 here on Monday Night Football. It's going to be the 7:15 kick, and there is a double header. So, 2 weeks ago, you had 2 games on Monday night, and it was a 8 and a 10. You have 2 on Monday night, but it's a 7:15 and an 8:15 kick. So you should be able to watch them. You're probably going to be near halftime or probably midway through the second quarter of the Dolphins game, as the Bengals and Broncos will then be kicking off. I hope that McDaniel calls the best game of his life. As in, let's get out of the huddle every time with 15 seconds left. Let's not do this bullshit where we get down to 9 and 10 seconds left in the play clock because you want to call a perfect freaking play every time, McDaniel. You can't do that. You need to evaluate the situation, have your scenarios, 1st and 5, 2nd and 5, 3rd and 5. Is it 3rd and 10? Is it 2nd and 10? Where are we at on the field? You need to use your offensive coordinators, if you're not already, and your quarterback coach to give you an idea. Hey, I think this will be best. And then McDaniel, you then decide. Let this guy call a play. Hey, what would you call here? This is what I think we should do, coach. And then you quickly make a decision. I think at some point in time in the week, McDaniel needs to get with his offensive coordinator, his quarterback coach, and you need to allow them to have some input if you don't. You're the head coach, but you're also the offensive play caller. So, yeah, you're a smart genius, but your play calling is becoming pretty much how you talk to the press conference people. It's coming off as you're thinking about everything you're doing, everything you're saying, and you're causing yourself to, and I think he literally is like that when he calls plays. Let's, you know what? No, let's do this. No, I think this will, you know what? And now you're at 18 seconds calling a play. You can't do that. You cannot do that. So McDaniel, you'll never hear this. But please, when the play is done, already be thinking about the next play. Or after you call the play, already start looking at, hey, if we get a first down, what am I going to call next? Or, hey, if this only goes for a couple yards or no gain, have an idea of what you're going to call. Please. Please. Like, I'm watching Tampa Bay and the Eagles right now. Eagles have now been at the line of scrimmage for, 5 seconds. And they got there with 22 seconds on the play clock. Now they have a whole 10 seconds as Jalen Hurts now gets to see the defense, what they're doing. He's going to call a play. And he's going to get them in the best case scenario. And just like that, Saquon Barkley gets an easy first down. So how other teams operate, McDaniels has got to see how quick these play calls are getting out. Kyle Shanahan doesn't have that problem. McVay doesn't have that problem. You shouldn't have that problem, McDaniel. So do better, be better. Dolphins minus 2.5. Last game on this slate, Cincinnati Bengals traveling to the Denver Broncos. With the game that Jake Browning had last week, I have just lost all confidence. And I think that this Denver defense is going to get after Jake Browning, and he's probably going to have another tough game. But Broncos have really just been losing games late, losing leads, playing not to lose, and not playing to win. Bo Nix, though, he's a really good quarterback. You're starting to see some of the mistakes that teams force you to make because they want you to do the things you're uncomfortable with. So I expect the Denver Broncos, though, to get this defense after Jake Browning. I think Jamar Chase is going to have a rough day, unfortunately, but it's going to leave T. Higgins to have a really big game. Surtain's going to be on lockdown island with Jamar Chase. So expect some schemed plays for Chase to get the ball, but T. Higgins has got to step up. And the 2 tight ends for Cincinnati, Noah Fant and Mike Gesicki. Denver, though, they don't have a true identity. I don't think they're a running team or a passing team. I still think they're in that in-between area of trying to figure out what exactly they do well. But Sean Payton's he's a great head coach, great offensive coordinator. He really does a good job of putting his team in good situations. So there we have it. Those are my picks for week 4, guys. And I'm hoping this audio has been crystal clear the whole time. I hope that this camera hasn't been out of focus as much as I've anticipated. And isn't it crazy? I fixed the audio and then my hair looks better. Everything looks better. It's crazy. But guys, if you've listened this long, I really appreciate it. I literally just sit here and bullshit on this mic because it's something I am passionate about. And I hope that one day it's going to allow me to quit my job. So thank you all for listening. This is going to be posted on YouTube, of course. And I'm always going to make announcements on Facebook, too, when these are going up. So thank you all for listening. Again, I am Tyler Clemens, and thank you for tuning in to the Clementine Podcast.